still talking about 9?
Yeah, I'm
And you make
gonna.
a
Welcome to the future of Israel and the Jewish people. I'm Frank Caporale, your host for tonight, and we're going to be talking about Job 9. We left off without an explanation, and Job was talking to his friends. I'm with my friend, B.J. Harvey. Welcome back.
Thank you, Frank. I
Well,
enjoy it immensely.
Good. Let's go over some of these verses. Okay, let's go right to 9:1, and I'll read it. Yes, I know all these truths in principle, but how can a person be declared innocent in God's sight? Okay, so he's kind of coming to the realization that there's none good. Okay, Why does God call him righteous? Because he believes God. Why did he call Abraham righteous? Because he believed God. Why did he call Noah righteous? Because he believed God. Okay? Did they make mistakes? Yes. Okay? And we're not going to go over that, okay? We had Genesis earlier, okay? If someone wants to take God to court, oh boy, now he really wants to get into it, right? And he realizes that he doesn't stand a chance if he's going to try to stand on his own righteousness, okay? If someone has snatched someone into death, who can stop them? He's saying when it comes time for someone to die, their time's run out, they die. Okay? So he's believing that he's going to die, which is really amazing because he isn't going to die. But, you know, the situation's so bad, he hopes he's going to die, right? 14 says, so who am I? That's great when he says, who am I? Should I try to ask God or even reason with him? Okay, so now he's maybe coming to the realization he's not going to get his answer. Even if I was right, I would have no defense. I could only plead for mercy. See, mercy is better than justice, okay? And that's the job of the Messiah, to pay the price so that there is justice, okay? But right now, we're dealing with mercy, and that's what he did. Let's see what 24 says quickly. 24 says, the whole world is in his hands of the wicked, and God blinds the eyes of the just. If he does, the one who does it, who is? Well, this is the devil. The devil's in charge. When Adam and Eve gave up their rights in the garden to the devil by obeying him rather than God, he is in control. He's called the God of this age or this world, okay? So if you're not on God's side, then you're exposed to the devil, right?
Right.
And you can go on and on in this chapter. 29, what's 29 say? Whatever happens, I was found guilty, so what's the use of trying? I wish all of us would realize that. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you were raised in a religious community. I don't care if you fast every Sabbath. I don't care if you eat matzahs 8 days instead of 7 during Passover. We all sinned and fell short of the glory of God. Later on, the whole temple setup was to pay the interest on your debt until someone could pay the full debt. And, you know, he's coming to a realization. He's coming closer and closer to God the more he struggles. This one's great. Even if I was wash myself with soap and clean my hands with lye. Isaiah says later on, you're like filthy rags. And he's using the expression like a rag that a woman uses during her period. I mean, come on now. He's trying to explain to us that you can't clean up your act. You've got to believe God. You've got to trust God. You've got to ask God for forgiveness. But he and he alone can justify you. So Abraham was considered righteous because he believed God. Well, I don't know how much more we want to go on this. You can do all day with this book. God is not a mortal like me. Good. Okay, so I can't argue with him or take him to trial. All right? That's another thing we need to realize. A humble spirit is knowing we're human, we were created by God. God is the creator, right?
Right.
When you take that, you're beginning to move towards what? Humility. And what does he say? A humble and a contrite heart. Explain contrite heart.
Forgiving.
That's right. That's right. Asking forgiveness. Yep. Yep. So we can't say we're better than BJ, or I'm better than Carol, or I don't do what John does. Doesn't matter. You're comparing yourself with man. You're not comparing yourself with God. God is pure. He's perfect. And let's see what else we got. We got, we got so much here. He says, if only there was a mediator. That's the Messiah's job. Unfortunately, he's many years, thousands of years before the Messiah. Okay? So, but he understands that we do need a mediator. We need somebody that is of the same level, the same purity as God, that can say, it's okay. He's one of mine. He's one of mine. Then I could speak to him without fear. That's important. But I cannot do that in my own strength. Well, a lot of religious people fear God. When the Bible says the beginning of wisdom is to fear God, they're really saying to respect God. You know, adoration is a lot of things we do outwardly to show people that we believe God. But worship is when we really do what he tells us to do and what the law says to do. Thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt. That's what pleases God. Okay? You've seen people get really emotional in a service. But you know what? If they're going out doing dishonest things, God's not pleased with all that adoration. Want to read on? Let's go to the next chapter. Let's see what 10 says. Amazing what you can learn, isn't it, PJ?
Yes, it is.
Looking at somebody else's problem the right way.
I loathe my very life. Therefore, I will give you free rein to my complaint and speak out in the bitterness of my soul. I said to God, do not declare me guilty, but tell me what charges you have against me. Does it please you to oppress me, to spurn the work of your hands, while you smile at the plans of the wicked? Do you have eyes of flesh? Do you see as a mortal sees? Are you days like those of the mortal, or are the years like those of the strong man? That you may search out my faults and probe after my sin, though you know that I am not guilty, that no one can rescue me from your hand. Your hands shape me and made me. Will you now turn and destroy me? Remember that you molded me like clay. Will you now turn me into dust again? Do you not pour me out like milk and curdle me like cheese? Clothe me with skin and flesh and knit me together with bones and sinews. You gave me life and showed me kindness, and your providence watch over my spirit. But this is what you concealed in your heart, and I know that this was in your mind. If I sinned, you would be watching me and would not let my offense go unpunished. I am guilty. Woe to me. Even if I am innocent, I cannot lift up my head, for I will fall in shame, and drowned in many afflictions. If I hold my head high, you stalk me like a lion, and again display your awesome power against me. You bring new witness against me, and increase your anger toward me. Your forces come against me, and wave upon wave. Why did you bring me out of the womb? I wish I had died before any eye saw me. If only I had never come into being, or had been carried straight from the womb to the grave. Are not my few days almost over? Turn away from me so I can have a moment's joy, before I go to the place of no return, for the land of gloom and utter darkness, to the land of the deepest night, of utter darkness and disorder, Even the light is like darkness. Wow. What a strong paragraph and business that number 10 is.
Yeah, everything here is strong, isn't it? You guide my conscience.
The man loathes his life,
Yeah.
and he is guiltless.
Well, while you were reading, I was thinking of anybody out in our audience that is suffering right now and maybe thinks they're on the verge of death, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to tell you, folks, that I was diagnosed with 4th degree cancer in 2003, and here I am in perfect health. Even my heart was not affected by all those months of chemotherapy, okay? And God saved me from radiation. I won't get into that now.
I am a witness to that because I've been in your hospital room.
Yep. And your own heart is still ticking after how many years?
A lot.
All right, well, let's look at the verses here. Okay, let's go back and look at 1. He was disgusted with life. Okay, let me complain freely. My bitter soul must complain. You can't hold it in. And see, that's one of the things that we need to do when we're going to a hospital. We need to let the people vent, not have the answers. Okay?
The famous question when you go to a hospital is, why me?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he vents, and there's no answer.
Yeah, that's what they train us, sometimes when we're in chaplain service, right?
Right.
Okay? And you're visiting people with different faiths, and you're just trying to be encouragement, a friend, a listening ear. Maybe you're the only visitor that showed up in months. Their own family don't come. Maybe they're the only survivor left in their family. When they're 103 years old or 101, there's not many people they know that can, and even if they're alive, they may not be able to come.
Right.
Okay, thank God for telephones. Okay, let's see what 8 says. I marked off 8. You formed me with your hands. You made me, yet now I'm completely destroying me. He somehow or another has a feeling that all along that God's causing him. He at least knows it's a spiritual thing, okay?
Yes.
But he's blaming the wrong person. And that's why I think this book was written and recorded, is to remind everybody there's an enemy of your soul. And a lot of your troubles come from your enemy, either through other people that he influences or directly, okay? Through things that he causes. People that drown, people that, get caught in a storm, those kind of things. You can't avoid everything.
No, you can't avoid life, what life
That's
is
right.
all about. The dangers, but you ask God's protective security.
Let's see what 19 or 18 says before we leave this, because he gets really bold down here.
Why then did you bring me out of the womb?
Yep.
I wish I had died before any eye saw me. If only I had never come into being, or I had been carried straight from the womb to the grave.
Yep.
That is very, not only negative, but very depressing.
Oh, yeah.
That guy needs help.
Yeah.
And Eliphaz and Biddle didn't help it at all.
No.
So far, none.
And sometimes sympathy doesn't either, BJ. They'll just drive people, give the people more reason to think that they got a reason to feel sorry for themselves.
That's exactly
And
right.
compassion would be more, what can I do for you? Rather than just agree with you, okay?
Well, it's tough to agree or disagree with this thing, because there would be nothing that anyone could say that could uplift this man except God himself.
Well, see, sometimes we try to do God's work, and it's up to God to lift them out of the pit.
It is.
Okay, we're there to, we use that expression, lift them out of the pit. I mean, if I came along and I saw you down in the pit, but I wasn't capable of getting you out, what I could do was stay there with you, okay? I could sound the alarm. I could lower water to you. I mean, if you needed oxygen, maybe I can send you down an oxygen tank. If you needed food, if you were there. Look at those guys, and more important than that, pray. I mean, what happened in South America with the miners?
Mm-hmm.
There's the greatest miracle.
Of all.
People prayed, and they didn't give up, and they just kept drilling, and they kept, I mean, first it was an air hole. That's all it was, to get them fresh air. Okay? Then they started to send things that they needed.
Down, right.
Then they were able to get them out. You know?
One by one, they got them out.
Yeah. It's a real mishpah. Okay? Doing a good deed.
Yes. It's more than a good deed to save somebody's life.
Oh, yeah. And you know how Jewish people feel about that? You save one life,
You save a lot.
save the whole
10,000.
world, they say.
Oh, save the
Because you
whole
save
10,000.
all the generations behind them, their seed. And that comes back to maybe a point that we could raise here about abortion. We won't get into it, but we don't know who we're destroying. Okay? Maybe one of them would have been Job's good friend. Let's go to 11. We only got a little time left.
Here's another friend. Then Zophar the Naamite replied, "Are you all these words to go unanswered? Is this talker to be vindicated? Would your idle talk reduce others in silence? Will no one rebuke you when you mock? You say to God, 'My beliefs are flawless, and I am pure in your sight.' And how I wish that God would speak, that he would open his lips against you, and disclose to you the secrets of wisdom. For true wisdom has two sides. Know this, God has ever even forgotten some of your sin. Can you fathom the mysteries of God? Can you probe the limits of the Almighty? Will you speak of wickedly on God's behalf? Will you speak deceitfully for him? Will you show him partiality? Would you argue the case for God? Would it turn out well if he examined you? Could you deceive him as you might deceive a mortal? He would surely call you on account. If you secretly showed partiality, would not his splendor terrify you? Would not the dread of him fall on you? Your maxims of proverbs are ashes, and your defenses are defenses of clay. Keep your silence and let me speak. Then let him come to me with what may. What do I put myself in jeopardy and take my life in my hands? Though he slay me, yet will I hope in him. I am surely defend my ways to his face, and indeed this will turn out for my deliverance. For no godless person would dare come before him. Listen carefully to what I say. Let my words ring in your ears. Now that I have prepared my case, I know I will be vindicated. Can anyone bring charges against me? If so, I will be silent and die. Grant me those two things, God, and then I will not hide from you. Withdraw your hand from me and stop frightening me with your terrors. Then summon me and I will answer, or let me speak and you will reply. How many wrongs and sins have I committed? Show me my offenses and my sin. Why do you hide your face and consider me your enemy? Will you torment a wind-blown leaf? Would you chase after a dry chaff? Would you write down bitter things against me and make me reap the sins of my youth? You fasten my feet in shackles, and you keep close watch on my paths. Be putting marks on the soles of my feet. So man wastes away like something rotten, like a garment eaten by moths. What's your comment, Frank?
Oh. First of all, this guy starts over with if,
Right.
okay? If only you would, change your heart, if you only live up to this, if you only would pray, if you only would repent, if you get rid of your sins, if you get rid of your iniquity. I mean, you know, he sounds like he's maybe a chaplain on a death row situation before the execution, you know. We've got you on video camera, you shot 12 people, you know, you need to repent, you know. They have nothing. They weren't around when this happened. They came afterwards, okay? What do you see out of there?
It's the words that Jesus used. Keep silent and let me speak. Then let me come to what may. Would I do myself in jeopardy and take my life in your hands? That's a Jesus comment. Think about it.
In what respect?
In the respect of that I have to do what is necessary for your own life that I couldn't do for my own.
You know, there's another thing about what's going on here when he says, you know, if you would only pray.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when people are really depressed, they really don't want to over-religious their experience.
Mm-hmm.
And people who come in and want to think they're encouraging them. You know, there's three things that happen when you pray. It could be yes, it could be no, it could be not at this time. And that's what it is in Job. It's not at this time you'll be made whole. Okay? And so, does God hear his prayer and his complaints? Sure he does. Okay? Does he hear what the friends are saying? Well, we're going to see a lot more of that later on. But, you know, I wish we all could do more praying before we went as to what to say, what to do, what happened. I'll give you a simple experience. A guy called me up desperately. He was homesick. His wife was homesick. It was Valentine's Day. It was snowing out, and he wanted to do something for his wife. So he asked me to go get a dozen roses. So I went and I delivered them. It was a 17-mile trip from my house to his house. No problem. You know, I went around the world, so 17 miles is nothing. But then he said like one word. And he said something about covered was bare or something. Now this guy is a very successful man. So it's not like I'm down on Skid Road where it's poor housing.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, you know, they were away for a whole month. And they came home sick and they got nothing in the house. You know how it is. So I decided I would put the box together and deliver everything that was for breakfast. Bagels, cream cheese, all that stuff. Well, he was flabbergasted. Every time I would go there, I would shovel a little bit more of his driveway, as much as I could handle in my strength. And then he said, oh, thank you, because it was my wife's birthday today. And I said, oh. So the next day when I came, I brought cake and a birthday card and everything else. And it was like, he said to me, why did you do all this? I said, because God told me to. Every day he would give me another assignment. He would tell me one more thing to do for the man, okay? And not what I would do, but God knew what he needed. He needed to get rid of the guilt that he wasn't able to take his wife out for Valentine's Day. He wasn't able to get a gift for her for her birthday because they were locked up in the house for 10 days sick. And today, we're buddies like this because he knows both of us will go the extra mile. So, well, I don't know if we can get into 12 now, but Job obviously is going to come back again, and he's going to give it to his good friend. How long? 12 is a pretty short chapter. Maybe we can get through some of it.
Job replied.
Go ahead. That's the one.
Double this Doubtless, you are the only people who matter, and wisdom will die with you. But I have mind as well as you. I am not inferior to you, but does know all things. I have become a laughingstock to my friends, though I called on God, and he answered, a mere laughingstock, though righteous and blameless. Those who are at ease have contemplated and misfortune, as the fate of those whose feet are slipping, the tent of marauders and undisturbed, and those who provoke God are secure, those who God has in his hand. But ask the animals, and they will teach you, or the birds in the sky, and they will tell you, or speak to the earth, and it will teach you, and let the fish in the sea inform you. Which of all that these do does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? In his hand is the life of every creature and the breath of all mankind. Does not the ear taste words as the tongue tastes food? Is not wisdom found among the aged? Does not long before bringing understanding?
Well, we're going to have to finish this chapter probably in the next show.
Okay.
And Job is really starting to get to the point where he's trying to instruct his friends that, you're not the smartest guys in the world. Even the animals know more probably than you do. You think about that. They probably do, out of instinct. Okay, rather than knowledge, because they don't have the free will we have. But we're so excited that you're with us. If you want to comment on this, ask any questions, you can always go to www.thefutureofisrael.org to see any of our previous shows if you haven't followed this from the beginning. Our email address is info@thefutureofisrael.org. So what you're going to find out in this here is that these people that they're talking about in this chapter are later turned over to a reprobate mind because they're not righteous people. But we'll cover that on the next show. And if your friends want to watch our show, they can watch us on the website. If we're not in one of your towns, our website does tell you which towns we're in. So, Lord, we just ask you to bless our audience. We ask that they would be a blessing and join us again. Thank you. Well, thank you for being on. I really enjoyed working with you. Been a real pleasure. Come back again.
You say that to everybody.
No, I don't have very many people on my show.